And welcome to the final quarter on CBS 8 Plus. I am Jake Giriani. That is Karthik Venkatraman. And the really handsome young man over there is Mr. John Howard. John Howard might want to loosen up the arm and get ready to play in the National Football League. It seems like anybody of any age can play. We got to talk about what everybody is talking about right now. Our good friend Philip Rivers back in the NFL. Guys, pretty stunning news. 44 years old, a literal grandpa. This man will likely be starting, in my opinion, for the Colts on Sunday.
Yeah, I think what's amazing about this is the NFL doesn't need storylines. It's such an entertaining league. There's so much parity in the league. So many people play fantasy football. But this is a story that's just leapt off the pages. And, when was the last time you had a story this good, especially for San Diego NFL fans, where Rivers played most of his career here in San Diego before the team moved up to L.A. And the fact that he's trying to come back as a 44-year-old, it's just a wonderful story. And, he hasn't been activated yet. I think it is going to happen, and if and when it does, by the way, we'll have that Colts game on this Sunday on CBS 8. I will be thoroughly entertained, and that is absolute must-see TV come Sunday.
I definitely think the storyline has been the most entertaining one of the season so far. The attention that it's getting, everyone is talking about it, and I know just John, like you said, everyone here in San Diego, but your boy over here is a little skeptical at the age of 44 that he's going to pop up in the NFL after not playing for 5 years and dog on some defenses, because I'm not so sure of that. I know we know Philip Rivers of the past, and that guy was a baller when he played, but just being out of the NFL for as long as he has, I'm not sure the physical attributes are going to be there the same. He's not been in NFL shape. The NFL is one of the toughest leagues to play, and I think he's got it mentally. Obviously, at the high school level in which he coaches in Alabama, he's been using that system that the Colts use, so that definitely is good for him. He even said in his press conference, he knows the whole playbook minus a couple of tweaks. All that is great. But if you can't throw the ball as efficiently as you once did, maybe that's a problem at the age of 44. I'm a little skeptical if he's going to get the job done, especially with the defenses that Philip Rivers is going to be going up against here on the back half of the season. Seahawks, Texans, Jaguars. That's going to be some tough stuff. And for that, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'll leave it to Karthik to dump cold water all over this unbelievable, amazing. It's an amazing story. This guy's a literal grandpa. He's 44 years old. He's got 10 kids. He played like 20 years in the NFL. He hasn't played in 5 years. He comes out of retirement. Everyone is like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Karthik's like, this ain't going to work.
This is my John Howard with cool jerseys.
This is going to be a complete disaster for the Colts.
I didn't say that. I said I was skeptical.
You didn't. I am incredibly excited for this opportunity for Philip Rivers. I think this could be one of the great sports stories of all time if it does indeed work out. To your point, Karthik, you mentioned, a heck of a gauntlet for the Indianapolis Colts to run through. We'll kind of talk about that a little more, but you're talking the likes of Seattle, Houston, the Jaguars. 4 really hard games. They are right in the thick of this thing, and it really is stunning. And look, the whole reason Philip Rivers is coming back for the Indianapolis Colts is because of this system. He knows Shane Steichen. He can walk in day one, a.k.a. today, and run this offense for the Colts. And there are not a lot of people on this planet that can do that. And you got a guy who did it for you just 5 years ago, I suppose, and can do it in his sleep. I think mentally, Philip is there. I think physically, the arm is there. We'll see how a 44-year-old body holds up with the Indianapolis Colts. Before we move on, though, let's hear from Philip Rivers, who spoke to the media today in Indianapolis. To me, the guy's fired up to be back.
All right. No Zoom. Let's go. As simple as can be is a coach that I love and an organization that I really enjoyed being with. Mr. Irsay believing in me in that year in 2020 when it didn't go so good in 2019. And shoot, the teammates that I were able to play with, 14 of them are still here. Training room's the same. PR guys are the same. Equipment room's the same. And they wanted me. And, I try to keep it as simple as that. And, a game I love to play, a game that I thought I was done playing. Certainly, I wasn't really hanging on any hope of playing again. I'd kind of thought that ship had sailed. but something about it excited me. And it's kind of one of those deals, the door opens and you can either walk through it and find out if you can do it or run from it. And I know that there's risk involved, obviously, of what may or may not happen. But the only way to find out is going for it. And I just felt almost like it was a gift, another opportunity to play and cut it loose with your guys in the game you love to play, and the dream that you got to live. You may get some bonus time. So I really kept it as simple as that in my mind, and here I stand.
I mean, to me, that's a guy that's ready to run through a wall, Carter. That's a guy who's mentally in the right place to get the Colts to where they need to be. That's a guy, Karthik, who's going to lead the Colts to the postseason.
No, because the thing that got me through the whole entire press conference is every single time he was asked, can you do this? He says, we're going to find out.
He's 44. He doesn't know either.
That's great. But that's where, now you understand where my skepticism goes. If I could get the word out there, skepticism comes from. If he doesn't even know, because here's the other thing, right? If you're playing quarterback, what do you want your quarterback to be? Confident. And I'm not saying he's not. I think he's got the mentality to be a competitor, and that's the reason why he's getting back into this thing, and he feels like he can do it, and he wants to give it another go because I don't think he wanted to leave it, and he wanted to let it go when it came to him. He was kind of led into retirement, and it wasn't on his own terms. Now it feels like it's on his own terms. Probably the itch that is like, do I still got it in me? Do I have that dog in me? I'm going to go find out, which is fine. I'm going to go find out. It's not the confidence I want in my quarterback, but here's the thing. The Colts are trying to throw a Hail Mary right here to save their season. And the only thing that makes sense at this point is to get a quarterback that knows your system, because that might be the only chance they have to salvaging what was a fantastic start to this year. And with that lies my skepticism. I'm not saying he can't get it done. I'm not saying it's impossible. With the defenses he's going up against, not having played in the league for as long as he is, how old he is, will his physicality hold up? I think the mentality is there. Will the physicality hold up is something I'm very concerned about.
Well, and the physicality and his skills, I think you look at, he doesn't need to be throwing the ball 50, 60 yards down the field. He doesn't need to be running because he was never much of a runner. Although I do want to see him run for a first down if he comes back and is activated and plays. But my question is, what kind of game shape is he in? Even if, a lot of times quarterbacks are running a lot in the backfield, and if he's got to rush to the outside of the sideline to make a throw to buy time, how gassed is he just making that run to the sideline, being flushed out of the pocket? When it comes to his physical skills, I look at Peyton Manning when he finished his career with the Denver Broncos. He had that neck injury and his arm was like a noodle. Yeah. I don't know if he threw the ball.
He was a shell of himself.
Yeah, I don't know that he threw the ball.
Broke like every record. I mean, yeah.
And I don't know that he threw the ball more than 18 yards downfield, but he game managed the heck out of the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos had a great defense.
That Broncos defense is what saved them.
It was. And if that's what's going to happen again here with the Colts, if Phillip Rivers just doesn't throw that interception in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes to go and you're down by 4.
If Marlon McCree hangs on to the dang pick,
then I think there's a very good opportunity here for the Colts to do well with Phillip Rivers. One other thought, I don't know that Phillip Rivers signs the activation to the roster unless he knows he's going to be playing more than one game. Yeah. And I think right now he gives the Colts a better chance to win than starting Riley Leonard. And who else are they going to play? Anthony Richardson's not ready to come back, and Jones is out for the season. So I think Phillip Rivers, to put that timeline of the Hall of Fame on hold for another 5 years, it's got to be more than just one game. So I think if he's activated, it's going to be the starter, and I think it's going to be the starter probably through the end of the regular season and see where they're at that point.
Phillip Rivers 1,000% gives the Indianapolis Colts a better chance to make the postseason than a Riley Leonard, than a Sam Ehlinger, than some random dude off the street. I think, look, desperate times do call for desperate measures. Signing a 44-year-old quarterback to play in the NFL is desperate, but it's a calculated desperate move. With that being said, I'm so excited. This instantly becomes must-watch television. Phillip Rivers, to your point, Karthik, a little bit earlier, could really build on that Hall of Fame resume. Right now, he's kind of French. He comes back and he does something amazing. Who knows what people are talking about? Look, we've spent plenty of time talking about Phillip Rivers. I wanted to hear from one of his former teammates, a guy that knows what it's like to play in the National Football League, to take the physical toll of playing in the NFL, and a guy who's also in his 40s. Now, he didn't play in the NFL, a former teammate of Philip Rivers, Mr. Lights Out, Sean Merriman himself. Let's hear what he had to say. Sean, the dude is 44 years old, and he's coming back to the NFL. What makes you think that this is going to be possible for your good friend Philip Rivers?
It's funny. I got a chance to spend some time with him out and at the Hall of Fame induction for Antonio Gates, and we all got together and we were all talking as old teammates, and we started talking football. And something clicked in my head that Phil still sounded like he wanted to play. He stayed ready. He stayed ready these years. And I don't know what he looks like. I haven't seen him, running around or not, but I'm sure was out running around with the high school kids and his son Gunner or whatnot. So I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at what's happening. I think that it's a shock to everybody else, but knowing Phil all these years and then knowing that he was still up and ready to play, I'm not shocked at all.
You know the competitor that 17 is, one of the best competitors of all time. This situation probably makes a lot of sense because of where the Indianapolis Colts are in the standings, right there in the thick of a playoff race. How much of that and where the Colts are do you think went into this decision for Philip?
I think it weighed on really everything because he's going into a system that he's familiar with, and the coaching staff is familiar with him. He may not be what he was. He probably won't move around as much, but going in there, getting rid of the football, being smart with the football, being able to get these guys down the field and get them in a position to win, right? He's not going to go out there and possibly light down. If he lights it up, that's a different story, but I don't see that necessarily happening. But he can put those guys in position where they can still go out and win football games with that defense they have.
Some of the stats behind this are so interesting, Sean. I mean, Philip he's a literal grandpa. That's not me being rude. The guy has a grandchild. He's oldest child is older than Riley Leonard, who was the starting quarterback last week. When you start to wrap your head around some of this stuff, he's older than his head coach. He's older than his OC. Like, how do you kind of put all this into perspective?
When you get older in the locker room, they start calling you big bro. Then you get a little older, they start calling you uncle. I don't think anybody's been called grandpa ever, and not even a disrespectful sense. He's really a grandpa. I think this is a great story no matter how it ends up. Obviously, I'm rooting for him. A bunch of people are rooting for him. Couldn't happen to a better person. But I would not be shocked if he go out there and do some things to keep these guys in that win column.
I think what Sean said there is very smart in a sense of, look, he's not like, Philip's going to go out there and throw for 400 yards and will the Colts to the postseason. He goes, I think Philip can put them in a good enough position to win the game. And Philip today, you two, even said, I'm a realist, right? We're going to run the dang ball a lot. We're going to play some great defense, and I'm going to do the best I can if given the opportunity. My other very favorite moment from today's press conference, because I watched the entire thing, was a reporter directly asked Philip Rivers what his current weight was, and he said, I don't even know, to be honest. He goes, it wasn't what it was when I walked off the field in Buffalo 5 years ago. I'll tell you that much. And he said, but it doesn't matter. People knew my entire career I wasn't leaving that pocket. People knew my whole career I was standing right there, and he still got it done. I believe he can still get it done. Why we look at that, let's look at what the job is for the Indianapolis Colts and Philip Rivers. That's where they stand in the AFC South. Everything right in front of them, just a game back of the Jags, but we've brought up this schedule that they have, 4 tough games to finish out the regular season.
Yeah, and when I look at these standings, if Indianapolis had Tennessee's record, 2-11, does Philip Rivers consider doing this?
No chance, right?
Does he come back to a team that's 2-11? No. But because they're 8-5, very much alive for a postseason berth, I think that has a lot to do with Philip wanting to do this.
Yeah, I definitely think he thinks this is a great opportunity. The competitor in him really wanted him. He was asked even about, his family in this family decision. His wife was like, should you? I don't know if you hold up. And he's like, I got to figure this thing out. And so that's where he is. If he pulls this off, boys, if he pulls this off and gets them into the postseason, having played the Seahawks, this is not in order, but the Seahawks is in order. The Seahawks, Texans, Jaguars, 49ers, Those defenses, if he goes up against those defenses and gets this done and puts them in the postseason, I think right now he's a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. This stamps him in the Hall of Fame if he can get them. Those kind of moments are the ones that you look back on and say, those were your GOAT moments. If he comes back and does this, that's a GOAT type moment to lead this team that's starting to feel all this despair. The season is lost. If he comes in and does it against those defenses and gets them in, hype me up, baby. But he's not going to do it.
And that's the thing. Jake, do you have the playoff picture? The playoff picture right now, the Colts are on the outside looking in. And so Karthik, there they are, number 8. If the playoffs started tomorrow, Colts wouldn't be in. So if Rivers comes in and leads this team to the postseason, that in and of itself is an accomplishment and a huge win for the Colts. Again, it just adds to the story and the drama of what's going on here.
And I really think it's like nothing to lose situation for Philip, right? I mean, he comes back and it's a 4-game flop and he's terrible. Nobody's going to remember it. Honestly, nobody will.
It doesn't hurt him.
It's not going to hurt his legacy. He comes back and he does what we're talking about, then obviously it will help it. Just for those wondering, he will wear 17. Daniel Jones said go ahead and wear it. He's out with the torn Achilles. And it's going to be exciting. I think he starts this Sunday against Seattle. While we're looking at these AFC standings, and we'll get into the NFC standings in just a second, let's talk big picture in the National Football League. What stands out to you two as a surprise? Obviously, you look at teams like the Denver Broncos, 11-2, seem to win every week by the hair on their chinny chin. And then Kansas City, way out of that picture. Baltimore having a bad year. What are some of the big things that stand out to you two?
The other thing I'm surprised about is New England being 11-2. I never would have thought Denver or New England would be 11-2 right now, and I would have put that record on the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo has lost some games that that really surprised me. They're 9-4. I've heard talks that, this is the end of the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty. Way too early to say it's the end of the Chiefs dynasty. Maybe
they look pretty bad, John.
maybe the beginning of the end, but they're still in contention for postseason play. And once they're in, as the coaches like to say, you just got to get in the tournament and see what happens. So I think it's too early to say it's the end of the Chiefs dynasty. But again, I'm surprised Buffalo has lost 4 games. Shocked that New England and Denver have won 11 games.
I think that's something that stands out to me is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that's been hyped up a lot in recent years to perform and get to those high wins and win the division. They hadn't really done it. And this year, it kind of feels like it's kind of molding in all together for them, which is huge. The Kansas City Chiefs is a huge shocker. If you wanted to say the Broncos were going to win the division, or I believe John Howard said the Chargers win the division before the year, I would have said, it's possible. I don't think the Chiefs are that uninvincible.
I did say the Broncos were going to win the division.
Correct.
I just want to be clear about
that. I picked the Chiefs, but I wouldn't have been surprised had they not won the division. That being said, I didn't ever expect that they would be in the position that they are now on the outside looking in with maybe not a great opportunity to make it into the playoffs depending on how the season ends. These Colts injuries are definitely playing a huge part into their favor to see if they can get in. But I'm very interested in that regard. And I do want to mention the Colts one more time. If you had told Colts fans before the season that Danny Dimes and Phillip Rivers would potentially be the quarterbacks that lead them to the playoffs, they said, no. What? What are you talking about? Daniel Jones and Phillip Rivers with the potential to get that job done for the Colts would be insane. I guess that would happen when you have a MVP-type running back in Jonathan Taylor as well. It wouldn't be completely on them, but yeah.
That is the AFC. Let's take a look at the NFC standings while we're on the topic of the NFL. Maybe a few less surprises over in the NFC, but definitely still some of them. You look at Detroit, who was one of my Super Bowl picks. I think a lot of people had them as a Super Bowl favorite, or at least getting to the NFC Championship game. And then the Chicago Bears, I think, are also stunning a lot of people. You guys, you look at the NFC picture. What do you feel about this? And I will say before I let you guys go, LA's the truth, man. The Rams are legit. Stafford playing at a Hall of Fame level. That's a scary team, in my opinion, if you're an NFC team.
Yeah, the Rams are a surprise to me that they're that good. And it's been a thrill for me because I've got Stafford on my fantasy team. I've been surprised at the Chicago Bears. I remember watching, it was either week 1 or week 2. They started the season 0-2, and now they've won 9 of the next 11. The Bears have been very impressive and also very typical are the mediocre Dallas Cowboys. These guys can't seem to get out of their own way, and put a winning product on the field. It just seems like year after year, they've got Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and they've got these names, but they just can't stack the wins. And once again, currently, they're out of the playoff hunt at this point.
Karthik, is it these guys or is it one Jerry Jones that can't seem to get out of the way?
You know my take about Jerry Jones, but the NFC West is absolutely
stacked.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So good. The Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFL. The Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL. People might say the 49ers are pretenders, but they have one of the best records in the NFL. That division is awesome. And so is the NFC North. The NFC is loaded. Bears, Packers, Lions, all those teams are fantastic. And I talked about the Packers very early on our NFL postgame show, talking about how I felt like maybe they were starting to look like Super Bowl contenders. I still believe that defense is really, really good too. We were talking about some of the good defenses in the NFL. The Packers defense is good. If their offense can just do enough, that's the kind of team that can really hang around in games and maybe get the job done. I'm really impressed this year in the NFL how many great defenses there are, because it's been really fun to watch. Everyone talks about offense all the time. Great defenses. But I mentioned Jonathan Taylor, potential MVP. Matthew Stafford's the real MVP this year.
Yeah, he's been an absolute baller. It's been a really fun year in the NFL. There's been a lot of kind of topsy-turvy questions out here and there, and this Phillip Rivers storyline only adds to it. We've talked a ton of football today. Let's wrap up with some baseball, and in particular, the San Diego Padres winter meetings happening. Tons of rumors flying around, as they typically do at the winter meetings, but some big ones with the San Diego Padres. In particular, some giant trade. AJ Preller shooting for the stars. Yeah, what's new? The sky's blue, the ocean's blue, the grass is green, right? AJ Preller is always listening on deals. He's always shooting for the stars. There's all kinds of things surrounding these rumors coming out from AC and stuff, talking about this big deal. There's been tons of names thrown around in some of these trade rumors. Jake Cronenworth, Fernando's name gets thrown up all the time. Is there any merit to these? Do you guys take any merit from the winter meetings rumors? What are your feeling on that?
I think the winter meetings are rumor central is what the winter meetings are. And I think AJ Preller in the past, he's been very patient in the offseason to make his moves. And sometimes he's making moves after training camp starts, for Pete's sake. And because of the possible sale of the organization right now, I think the same thing's going to happen. I think he's going to be very patient. I think he's going to sit on his hands and he's going to see who's willing to offer what for who. And I don't really expect them to make any big moves during the winter meetings, and perhaps later, late in December into January, possibly even February, we might be seeing some more significant moves by Preller.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Preller said it on MLB Network in an interview. He said that nobody's untouchable. And I think he really means that, because I think at the end of the day, what is AJ Preller looking for? Assets. How can he make this team whole, not just one guy? You got a starting pitching problem. I wouldn't be surprised if he looked with how much Nick Pivetta is going to cost them in the future and the potential for him to leave. Do they see, okay, if we can flip him for a couple of good pieces, that would really shore up our starting pitching? I think those kind of things are on the table. If there's one thing I've learned in my short time here so far in San Diego, AJ Preller is willing to pull whatever trigger it takes to believe what he thinks would win a World Series, and I don't think he's willing to make some noise to make that happen. I think whatever is going to get this team assets to help the whole team and really solidify is their best opportunity at winning a World Series. They've got some holes that they got to figure out. The most notable, starting pitching. You can't do that unless you give some stuff up, and they don't have a lot in their farm system. So whatever that ends up being, if it's these small minor league deals that they're making, or, they got Nick Pivetta late in free agency last offseason, if it's one of those moves that helps shore things, we're going to see. Trade deadline, I don't know how much they have trading before all the way till we get to the trade deadline, but I guess we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Nick Pivetta, Jake Cronenworth, those guys are on the move. I'd be pretty shocked if they gave up a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr., because the city would absolutely riot if something like that happened.
I don't see, I understand what you're saying about the Pivetta thing. I just think when you're so thin at starting pitching, moving starting pitching to try and get more doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I do understand the asset that is Nick Pivetta and the premium that is starting pitching, but that's almost like 2 steps backward to take a step forward, in my opinion. I definitely don't see them moving Fernando Tatis Jr., although it does make sense if you can kind of disconnect and go, that's a really good deal. It's a 2-time platinum glove. You could get an absolute haul. I do agree it would be a disaster here in San Diego. The name I'm most closely keeping an eye on this offseason, which may be a shock to some, is Mason Miller. Does A.J. Preller go and flip Mason Miller after trading his number one prospect for him and try and just get a haul or a bunch of starting pitchers? Who knows? They're rumors for now. One thing that did come up with Mason Miller is, hey, would we convert him to a starter? Would Adrian Morihone become a starter? What are they going to do in that starting position? It's something that new manager Craig Stammen was asked about at these winter meetings. Here is Craig Stammen talking about that possibility.
You put them in a completely different role. You don't know if they're still going to be the best or they're going to be a shell of themselves or somewhere in between. And it's a risky proposition, one, health-wise and just performance-wise. So I think using those guys strategically in the bullpen is probably best for us. It's best for them also. I think that's what they want to do, and that's a big piece of this too, is what the player knows what he really wants to do and what he's going to be best at.
I already love Craig Stammen. I'm in love with Craig. That's the smartest thing anybody said all offseason. I love the fact that Craig just came out and said, look, let's not make our strength and turn it into two weaknesses, right? Let's keep our great pieces in the bullpen. I'm glad to hear him say that. I tend to agree with that thought process. You guys also agree with Stammen there?
I 1,000% agree. John, you can go ahead, though.
Well, what I was going to say is when Juan Soto, what Stammen said was, what do the players want? They probably want to remain in those roles that they've had. Now, Juan Soto, when he was here, he wanted to bat third. Shut up, Juan, and just bat where you're supposed to bat and where the manager tells you to bat. And if during the postseason, if a reliever has to be a starter, he's a starter. But I understand what you're saying, that yes, it does make sense to keep these guys primarily in the roles they're comfortable with and that they excel at. But at the same time, if a move's got to be made, make the move.
My man said, shut up, Juan, and hit where you're told.
I'm glad I let John Howard go for a second. Shut up, Juan. Shut up, Juan is a meme waiting to happen from John Howard. We got to turn that into something anyway. What were we even talking about, boys? Somebody retract the question. I got lost in shut up, Juan.
We're talking about rumors, Padres. We're just going to see what happens.
Bullpen. We were talking about the bullpen. Obviously, keep it the same. I 1,000% agreed. They had the best bullpen ERA in all of the MLB last season during the regular season. It was their strong suit. They had guys coming in, starting in the fourth inning sometimes, and they would completely shut down games. You can't mess with it. You just got to find different ways to get pieces in different places in which you maybe have some holes. Don't mess with the good thing. Never a good idea.
I do think a lot of people are wondering what this offseason might be like for the San Diego Padres. It looks like it's going to turn into one of those A.J. Preller offseasons, though, where it won't be as quiet as it was last year. And I think some fireworks might fly here relatively soon. Who knows? It's all rumors coming out of the winter meetings, but it sounds like something big may happen for the San Diego Padres. I'm sure we will hear about it on social media from all those fans out there. And until then, you can always hang out with us here on the Final Quarter on CBS 8+. We are here every single week. We love you guys joining us. We love talking sports, Padres, football, NFL, all of it. And as always, you two, send them off.
All right, final word from me. Padres are going to play in Mexico City again this year. 2 games in April against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Looking forward to the international play there.
And Fernando Tatis Jr. better still be on that roster, because if they traded him away and it didn't work out, A.J. Preller's not going to have a job for too much longer.
Those are your final words. Take care. We'll see you next week.